Hello everyone. In this lecture, I am going to explain line by line Sonnet 6 by William Shakespeare. But before I start, if you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe my channel. Well, before I start it, let me tell you the theme and background of this sonnet, then you will understand it. Basically, this sonnet is like those sonnets where he urges a young man to have children so that his beauty will not be lost with time. He argues that beauty should be preserved through children and warns that refusing to do so is selfish and leads to decay and death. Now, let's start explaining it line by line. Then let not winter's ragged hand deface. In thee thy summer, ere thou be distilled. These are the beginning lines of this sonnet, and here the poet, Shakespeare, warns the young man not to let winter destroy his summer. Here, winter represents old age and death, while summer symbolizes youth and beauty. The phrase ere thou be distilled refers to the idea of extracting perfume from flowers before they wither. Simply, it means that beauty should be preserved before it fades away. In other words, you can say that he is telling the young man not to let time ruin his youth before he passes on his beauty through having children. In other words, you can say that he is addressing a young man that he should not waste his beauty and he should produce children so his beauty will remain in this world, as flowers are distilled in summer before they are vanished by winter. The phrase winter's ragged hand symbolizes old age and decay, and the word ragged suggests something rough and destructive, emphasizing how aging can damage beauty. And thy summer represents youth, beauty, and vitality. And ere thou be distilled refers to the process of extracting perfume from flowers before they wither, meaning beauty should be preserved before it fades. And then says, make sweet some vial, treasure thou some place. With beauty's treasure ere it be self-killed. Here, Shakespeare compares the young man's beauty to a precious perfume that should be stored in a bottle before it disappears. The phrase ere it be self-killed means that if the young man does not reproduce, his beauty will die with him. Simply, Shakespeare advises him to pass on his beauty to future generations before it is lost forever. Make sweet some vial refers to the idea of capturing beauty, just like flowers are distilled into perfume and stored in a vial. Here, the vial represents future generations, suggesting that having children can preserve one's beauty. Treasure thou some place with beauty's treasure means that the young man should pass on his beauty to a place like produce children before it is lost. And ere it be self-killed means that if he does not reproduce, then his beauty will die. That use is not forbidden usury, which happies those that pay the willing loan. Here, Shakespeare talks about usury. You should know usury, which refers to charging interest on money lending, and which was seen as unethical in his time. However, he argues that using beauty to create children is a good kind of usury because it benefits both the parent and the child. That use is not forbidden usury means that this kind of investment is not a sinful or forbidden act, which happies those that pay the willing loan, suggests that those who repay this debt find joy and fulfillment in doing so. In other words, you can say having children is a positive investment that makes everyone happy. That's for thyself to breed another thee, or 10 times happier, be it 10 for 1. In these lines, he urges the young man to create another version of himself by having children. He suggests that if he has many children, he will be even happier, or 10 times happier, be it 10 for 1. Means that having not just one child, but multiple, would bring even greater happiness and ensure an even stronger legacy. Simply, he is saying that one should create one's version by producing children and have more children. And then says, 10 times thyself were happier than thou art, if 10 of thine 10 times refigured thee. Here in these lines, Shakespeare repeats his idea. If the young man had 10 children who looked like him, then he would be 10 times happier. The phrase, refigured thee, means that his children would reflect his beauty, keeping it alive. To make it simpler, I would say, He says that the more children mean more happiness because they will carry on his beauty and legacy. Then what could death do if thou shouldst depart, leaving thee living in posterity? Now, Shakespeare gives a powerful argument. It means that if the young man dies but leaves behind children, death will not truly take him away because his legacy will continue through his descendants. Basically, it is a very interesting statement that he is saying that if you have children, death cannot erase you completely because a part of you will live on in them. And it is quite obvious that if you don't produce children and death comes to you, then it will completely vanish you. But if you have children like you, then death cannot erase you. And then says, be not self-willed, for thou art much too fair to be death's conquest, and make worms thine heir. In these final lines, Shakespeare warns against selfishness and tells the young man that he is too beautiful to let death win. If he does not have children, his only heirs will be worms that consume his body in the grave. Be not self-willed means that the young man should not be selfish, and he urges the young man not to refuse to have children. For thou art much too fair means that Shakespeare praises the young man's beauty, saying it is too precious to be lost. To be death's conquest and make worms thine heir means that if he does not pass on his beauty through children, he will die without leaving a legacy, and his only inheritors will be the worms that consume his body in the grave. It is universal fact that when one dies, his body is eaten by worms. So Shakespeare advises a young man that he should produce children, so his death will not finish him completely. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more poetry explanations. Thank you.